I carry her courage. I was raised in a church that taught me to pray before I could read, where bells echoed and hymns bellowed, and every baptism was a promise of life renewed. My mother wore reverence like a second skin, Sunday morning plans set in stone. We were washed in tradition, bathed in gospels and inherited beliefs. Next, a miracle. Not the kind with angels and trumpets, but the cold precision of scalpels and science. Surgery that sharpened the world from blur to brilliance. And she saw not just the world, but her place in it. She didn't just regain her sight, she found her calling. She said, if I can see now, I better damn well look. And she did. Back to college at 57, with bones that ached louder than the lectures. Back to books and margins, scrawled in prayers and persistence. Graduated with theology stitched in her spine. Bachelor's, master's, Reverend. I cheered from the sidelines as she stood at altars and bound souls in sacred vows. I watched as she baptized bouncing babies with hands that once rocked me to sleep. She buried God's faithful servants with words that wrapped grief in grace. But what they didn't see was the behind-the-scenes gospel, the chapters not printed in the bulletin. I saw her spirit bruised by bureaucracy, bullied by a bishop, who preached love but demanded subservience, who wore a collar but not compassion, didn't like women with boundaries, didn't like her. We were taught, you respect the house of bishops, you obey them, you pray harder, you disappear with dignity. But my mother, whose eyes had seen the darkness and came back shining, refused to dim for his comfort. She drew a line in the sand, holding boundaries history has taught her to hold. And for that, he fired her. Stripped her of her license to minister, ripped the collar from her neck like it had never fit in the first place. Left her spirit crushed, her beliefs shaken, her trust fractured, like the stained glass that will never catch light the same way again. They should have stood beside her, but the hierarchy hid behind canon law. Dusty clauses and patriarchal echoes. They didn't hold him accountable. They protected the caller, not the calling. They preached peace while perpetuating power. Let toxic masculinity wrap itself in liturgy, as if God ever sanctioned that. When he stripped her license, she didn't lose her call. She lost her permission, not her purpose. She kept standing even when the foundation cracked beneath her feet, even when the church closed doors to the very truth they claimed to serve. I am cut from her cloth, stitched with threads of conviction and grace. I watched her walk through fire and never once confused the smoke for surrender. She taught me that faith isn't about obedience to broken systems, but standing firm when the ground shifts, speaking truth when silence is safer. She showed me what holy really looks like, not in robes or titles, but in the courage to say, no more. I hope the church is watching. I hope they learn from this painful wound, because healing doesn't come from hiding, and the body of Christ cannot afford to keep cutting off its own limbs.